coming off a great effort last game, if it wasn't a win.
Right. Really proud of how we played. These guys are competing at a high level. They're bringing a great spirit, competitive spirit, great fight. Few too many mistakes, but giving ourselves a chance to pull out some difficult wins. Just falling short.
Who do you think surprised you the most with so many of your key guys down?
It's tough to say. I think Roy's had some really strong moments. Picking up some of the scoring load offensively. He had a rough night the other night. Solomon Hill is continuing to grow every single game he's out there. He's showing more confidence and more ability on both ends of the court, showing that he's got a chance, like we believe, to be one of our best two-way players. And obviously Chris Copeland's giving us a lot of scoring points. But Lavoy Allen's played well. We expected Lavoy to kind of be our third power forward or third center, and he's played as well as anybody on our team. So a lot of guys are stepping up.
How much did you really get to see Evan last year, the way you would like to see it?
It was tough. We didn't have a lot of time, and it was just obviously a mid-season acquisition, and we were on a mission to win the East, and he came in and we got a good look. They didn't have the success that he would have wanted or we would have wanted, but he was a great guy in the locker room, very coachable, and got along with his teammates. And gave us his all.
Brad said he talked to you before they signed him. What kind of message did you send to these guys?
I said he's gonna love him. I said it didn't work out here, but I felt like a different situation would be great for him. Like I said, he was never a problem for me. He was very coachable, got along well with his teammates, and I thought it was going to be a good fit for him.
When you met with Brad this past summer, I'm guessing it was a little bit different kind of conversation than the previous summer when you had with him. What was it like?
How'd it go? Along those lines. How was your first year? Just a lot of questions about that, and we just shared each other's stories, about what we went through this year, and what it was like his first year. It was a good conversation.
I imagine some of the things you were talking about last year, he couldn't, like talking to a rookie, they can't fully know it until they go through it. I'm not talking about the X's and O's stuff necessarily, but just the pace of a season in the NBA.
Everything. The grind, the day-to-day, how long to practice, when to rest guys, when to push guys. The substitution patterns are different. A 48-minute game, the end-of-game situations. The NBA game is very different than the college game. So you're right. I think it is one of those things that you can talk about it and tell them what it's about, but it's a matter of going through it. And everybody in the league sort of viewed the job he did as an exceptional job. A tough situation with a rebuilding situation, and he obviously earned the trust of his team, his players very quickly, and had a strong season.
When you look at a lot of teams that don't win or that are winning in the 20s, they really kind of splinter badly. When you look at that team, they managed to hold together fairly well. Catch your eye a little bit.
Yeah, no question, and that's what I was sort of speaking of. That he just, he had his group. He had their ear. And it was obvious with how they played, how they stayed together, and obviously did a good job.
How was Chris Copeland's play so far this season compared to your expectations?
It's been good. He's given us a big-time scoring pop. The ability to create and make plays. He's getting the ball in his hands a heck of a lot more than he ever has in the past. And with that, comes some mistakes. So there's an element of 3 good plays, 1 bad play. But that's part of growth and part of learning a different position. He's worked diligently on the defensive end, just to improve what he brings to the table. But obviously, learning for us, the small forward responsibility defensively is very different than the power forward responsibility. So he's worked very hard to learn that, and as long as everybody out there is giving maximum effort, I'll live with the results.
As he plays this larger role, will that make it easier if he goes back to a smaller role, maybe when everybody's healthy? Will that make it easier for him at that point?
I think so. Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the biggest reasons why we made the switch to small forward. Just to get him, on the court and feeling comfortable and utilize his skill set. And when we get healthy, he will now have the ability to play the 3 or the 4. Where last year we didn't really feel comfortable playing him at the 3.
Coach, without getting too much into the history of it, how difficult has it been without Paul and Lance gone, and David being out.
It's a challenge, you know. I mean, but you know, no one's feeling sorry for yourself, and you know, any great competitor enjoys a challenge, you know, and we're enjoying this. We're having fun with this. You know, we're not winning. We plan on winning. Okay, and you know, hasn't resulted in the way we wanted, but the competitive spirit is great. The togetherness is great. We're fighting for each other, and it's not perfect out there, but you know, we're enjoying the challenge.
Talk a little bit more about Solomon. How you think he's coming along? If you think there's any undue pressure on him, knowing that, you know, maybe you didn't expect him to have this big of a role this soon.
Well, he's being asked to do more than probably he should be asked to do. But Solomon Hill's a confident young man, a mature young man, and you know, he's rising to the challenge and enjoying every bit of, you know, this opportunity.
What was Chris's reaction when you told him you wanted him to be a small forward?
He was excited about it. You know, he had actually talked about it. You know, when we had health and depth at the power forward position last year, and you know, the same crew coming back this year. You know, he had asked me about, you know, maybe playing the 3, and so it was something that we were, you know, considering. You know, but obviously if Paul George was out there, he's going to get, you know, 38, 40 minutes a game at the 3, so it wasn't going to be a lot of minutes there. But we were open-minded to exploring it, and you know, obviously when Paul went down, you know, it became a no-brainer.
What were your reservations before with it? Defense? Was there something else too? Is it mostly just that?
Yeah, it's defensively, and look, I mean, I think he's a natural spread 4 and a pretty good spread 4. You know, and both ends of the court are concerned, because as a 3-man, you know, he's got smaller, quicker guys guarding him, so it's tougher to beat them off the bounce. Where at the 4, he can, you know, really stretch out power forwards, you know, with his 3-point shooting and playmaking and ability to put the ball on the floor. And then, you know, defensively, obviously, you know, as well. It's, you know, we felt like it was, you know, David West or Luis Scola. You know, it's no different than asking those guys to chase perimeter players around the 3-point line. You know, it's a challenge for somebody like that. So, you know, he's a big guy, a strong guy, and you know, he's being asked to do a lot on both ends of the court, and he's doing a great job.